Well, what I'm thinking about is that one story. Now think about this, where they were fighting in the bar, and the Americans were fighting the German civilians, and you had to come in and stop them.
Oh.
Yeah, think about that and tell exactly how that happened. Were you at the bar when that happened?
No, I wasn't going to the bar. I was going up to the castle ruins on the hill. But I had to go through that village to get there.
And you happened to have that gun you had, that Ruger?
Oh, I always carried that thing.
Okay, so you were just passing the bar.
Yeah, I was on up, and it's been quiet then, you know, and I knew there were some guys in there, but I went on up and went all through the ruins up there. Coming back down, there was trouble. And I looked in, and my God, some reserves had been called on by the Germans, and this is and our guys were out of line, and but they had gotten more than we had. There was only 3 of us, I think, maybe 4, 3, I guess, and so.
So you walked in the bar when you heard the commotion.
I went into the tavern. See what the matter was. And these guys were down. And all I said to the Germans was, "Zurück, Hand mit dem Kopf." Back. Hands on your head. Which they put. And then my guys came up, oh, now they're going to clean house. Damn fools. I put a shot over each one of their heads.
You shot. I mean, that's the first time you shot was over our guys' heads? That's the first time you shot the gun? Is when...
Yeah, well, the first time I shot it, there were people involved. And
they were your own troops. You were saying, you know, settle back.
I said, come on, you go down. Let's go down the mountainside together. Something to that effect. And as I went by, the last German in the tavern went by. He said, "Danke." Thank you. So I knew who had caused the trouble too. Of course, the ladies were there, but they weren't acting up that I could see. So that was the only time I had to fire that gun when I was overseas.
And do you remember the name of the bar or the tavern, or?
Beg pardon?
Do you remember what town it was in?
Oh gosh, no. There were so many little towns down there in South Germany. Usually they're on top of a hill somewhere. For defense,
But there was a castle there. That's you. Do you remember the castle?
Yeah, an old ruins really of the castle. I found them really interesting, you know, because half the time they were still occupied, and my gun never showed. I never pulled it to show the Germans either. And of course, they weren't going to argue with me. Not when I put the bullets over the Russian. I mean, our Americans' head. Of course, I put a little extra space in between. But they got the message. And then they came down the hill together, and after they got down there, I said, now look what resources these guys have got. I said, how long do you think they're going to like to take this kind of nonsense? They saw it. They took off one way, and I took off the other way. I didn't want to have anything more to do with them.
They weren't even in your battalion, or?
No.
Yeah.
Oh. See, I had almost like a pass, except I didn't have a pass. But I was never challenged. Our troops weren't going to challenge me. And all I was doing was just going to look at these old ruins most of the time, or in a little town sometime, once in a while I'd get in conversation with somebody. But that was a happy time, except for one of our soldiers. He was a young man who lived through the war and went on leave, and he when he came back, he was in a different car, but he looked over and he saw where we were billeted. You know, this is all the railroad tracks aren't exactly the prime part of town. And so he jumped off the wrong other side of the train, right in the road of a train coming he didn't see, and it killed him. And I thought, wait, I really feel badly about that, because my God, the guy was all over through the war. His parents were waiting anxiously for him to come home, and he's dead. Death was something real over there.
Did you see that happen, or just?
No.
Okay.
I don't believe I did. I can't remember whether I was in the car back further, or I have a vision of jumping, but I don't know whether that's what I thought about it. Or
yeah.
After the war in Germany.
You played football? And
with them. To keep us out of trouble, they wanted to keep us busy. Of course, we weren't that much troublemaking, I don't think, but they didn't have to watch us as closely when we were on our own, because we knew we had to watch it.
Well, that must have been a big relief after the war ends and you're still stationed out there, but it's almost like a vacation at that point.
No.
No?
But it wasn't very long.
Huh.
And the Germans weren't looking for trouble. When you've been just defeated in a war and you've lost a hell of a lot of your own friends and all, you know, you straighten up pretty well. And so I didn't have any real trouble with them. Especially after I put the shots over the Americans' head. They stopped. They said, "What's the matter? What are you doing? What are you doing?" I just said, "Look around yourself. They've got a whole town behind them up there. How many are we?" They saw the point. And so I went on down the mountainside with 3 of my associates.
Hands on their heads, or just walking down?
Huh?
Did you were their hands on their heads like you had arrested them?
The Germans I did. I didn't do that to the Americans.
Oh, okay.
You'd have real trouble there.
Well, I thought that's how you got them out of there without the Germans getting really upset.
Oh. The Germans weren't, well, no, the Germans weren't going to cause us a lot of trouble. Well, hell, they'd just been defeated, and instead of what the Germans had told them, the Nazis had told them that they were going to have done to them by us, and that just helped in our favor when we didn't do it. There was one thing that bothered me a little bit. When we went in there, we were on our big semi-trucks, big trucks, not semis, but 2.5-ton trucks. And some of these guys were shooting blanks at them. And I didn't like that, because those were women, children, and kids. They were having a hard enough time getting by. But that didn't last.
Had you heard about the concentration camps by then, when you were at?
I'd heard about them, but I don't believe I ever went to one. I went by one. I remember seeing a little foot, but I don't even know about that. I don't think it was even on anybody. It was just laying out in the mud.
Did you believe that, or did you know that they had killed so many Jewish people?
Well, I think we did, but then hell, when you're under your own troops, they didn't want us messing up any either. So you walk pretty straight. And that was the only time I saw Americans in trouble. Once we saw them stop and say, "Hey, you guys, these people are having enough trouble. As long as they don't cause us any problems, why don't we just let them alone?" And then the mealtime, you know, the kids always came around. We'd put extra food in their tin cans, and they'd go in and get something to eat, the kids. I don't know, we might have given some for the women too. I'm going to hazy on some of those memories, really.
So yeah, I guess you guys knew they were rounding the Jewish people up, but you probably didn't really know how bad it was.
We didn't. We were. I was there. I went by one, visited one, but we didn't go in and go through where they had been gassed and killed and all that. We were too busy trying to keep those that were saved, I mean, still there, keep them healthy and get them out of there. And there was really no danger involved in that. We had all the guns that the Nazis had. They better not use, because we were not in any mood to play games with them. Although we didn't really, I don't recall having to kill anybody, and that's good. A lot of them have just been drafted in, I suppose, like some of our people had been. They weren't all volunteers like I was. I was a volunteer. I was supposed to never be taken out of the Air Corps. Even if I wasn't, well, that didn't hold. They put me in the combat engineers, or actually mostly engineers, because they had to train us, retrain us again. And so we were behaving ourselves too. In fact, we'd had enough problems with people. We didn't care for any more.
Were the Jewish people considered kind of strange people back then, or was there anything that
the Jewish people?
Yeah, I mean, did anybody think that maybe the Germans were really had a justification for doing anything they did with the Jews?
Yeah.
Or did it just seem just really strange?
Again, it's kind of hazy.
Because I guess like racism, there was a lot of stuff that people thought bad about the Jews. You know, probably even here in America, I guess. I don't know.
I think the American, enough Jewish people died that that we were not antagonistic toward them at all.
Yeah.
We were happy to try to help them if we could. There's limited what you could do, because so many of those people were injured or were sick, and you take them to the hospital and talk about the medics mainly. Yep. England, though, when we were going into the continent, England, South England, the English loved to dance. I found out, and I liked dancing too. I really did, and I wasn't a bad dancer either, because I'd gone to a lot of dances when I was in America and in school. When I was growing up.
You had those strong legs from living in Alaska, going up those hills all the time.
Yeah. Well,